Oh, you guys can't hear this video? What's up, everyone? What's up, Clara? What's up, Jack? One second, let me fix the audio on this. How's everyone doing? Yeah, incredibly scary day. We'll talk about it. Just give me 1 second. What's up? You guys can hear me, right? Yeah, disturbing day. Hold up, sorry, I'm just setting up the entire stream. I'm getting the chat box on the left, so all set up. Yeah, let's do this. I added a new chat box on the left side of my screen, but for some reason we can't see the actual chat. Oh, I guess we can. I just need to turn them to white. 1 second, let me turn the text to white. I got you guys. What about this? What if I change the text to white? Does that make it look better? Boom. Terrifying day, everyone. We're right about to dig into it. Sorry, I just had to set up some stuff. I just went from recording to streaming, and it's like a different layout, so I just had to change some stuff. Yeah, I have the Supreme Court ruling up. We can read through it. It is wild. It is wild as hell. I guess what I might have to do for this stream, give me 1 second. Settings. This might be better. There we go. Now, whenever you guys say something in chat, it'll pop up right above me. That was the goal. Let's see if this works. Say something in chat, everyone. Say yo, say hi. There we go. Now we can see human FBN. Okay, that's what I was looking for, guys. Oh, let's read through some of these articles, because this is wild as hell. Yeah, there we go. You know, I can actually almost move this over to the right just a tiny bit. How does that look? Oh, no, that's too far to the right. Like Donald Trump, way too far to the right. Boom. There we go. That's clean. All right. Yeah, today was a wild day. A terrifying day. MAGA keeps taking W's in different forms, but we still have time to come back before the election. So Trump wins as top court deals blow to January 6th case. What's up, Richard Martin? Shortly after the Supreme Court issued its decision on his claim of presidential immunity, Donald Trump took to social media to celebrate. Quote, big win for our democracy, he posted on Truth Social, proud to be an American. While Trump did not get the sweeping protections that he and his lawyers had sought, he got more than enough to achieve his immediate objective of delaying another trial until after November's election. The ruling from the 6 conservative justices dealt a serious blow to the federal criminal case against him on charges of attempting to overturn the results of the 2020 election. I have a good Twitter thread that I wanted to read here for you guys. From Mark Joseph Stern. Hold up. Give me a second. Boom, boom. Yeah, so now Biden has full immunity. Not full immunity, immunity from acts that are official acts, but they haven't yet defined what official acts are, which is almost even worse because now they're kicking it back to a lower court to help define what's an official act versus an unofficial act. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm fixing this. I don't know why this video isn't audible. What's up, Jesse Pinkman? The Supreme Court rules that Donald Trump has absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for all official acts he took while in office. Wild, wild stuff. This is probably better right here. Oh wait, is there an echo now? My bad. All right, echo should be gone. All right. Yeah, sorry, I had to switch over from my recording setup to my live streaming setup on my program, so it took a second. Does this sound better now? It should. Okay, so the Supreme Court rules that President Trump has absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for all official acts he took while in office. The vote is 6-3 with all 3 liberals dissenting. We can go read through it in a second, but Sotomayor dissenting. Today's decision shields presidents from prosecution, quote, for criminal and treasonous acts and, quote, makes a mockery of the principle foundational to our Constitution and systems of government that no man is above the law. And then, okay, finally chat is working how I wanted it to work. Finally, you guys can see that chat's going up there. Do you guys like chat like that on the screen? I think it's more interactive. It took me a second to get that going. Yeah, now is not the time to go high while they go low. So, Justice Sotomayor, with whom Justice Kagan and Justice Jackson joined, dissenting. Today's decision to grant former presidents criminal immunity reshapes the institution of the presidency. It makes a mockery of the principle foundational to our Constitution and system of government that no man is above the law. Relying on little more than its own misguided wisdom about the need for, quote, bold and unhesitating action by the president, the court gives former President Trump all the immunity he asked for and more, because our Constitution does not shield a former president from answering for criminal and treasonous acts. I'm mispronouncing Sotomayor's name? Let me see. I thought it was Sotomayor, but I might be mispronouncing it. Oh, Sotomayor, right? Sotomayor. Today's decision to grant, okay, we read that. Sotomayor, that's good. Joined by Kagan and Jackson, closes, with fear for our democracy, I dissent. Never in the history of our republic has a president had reason to believe that he would be immune from criminal prosecution if he used the trappings of his office to violate the criminal law. Moving forward, however, all former presidents will be cloaked in such immunity. If the occupant of that office misuses official power for personal gain, the criminal law that the rest of us must abide will not provide a backstop. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. This is some powerful stuff. With fear for our democracy. Yeah, my bad. I was mispronouncing your name. That's honestly my biggest weakness. You guys probably see it when I read your names in chat. I read names and read them how I think they're pronounced. But yeah, so if I mispronounce your guys' name in chat, I'm sorry. The craziest part about this is that it goes hand in hand with Project 2025. I pointed this out on my Twitter. Let me just start this poll. I pointed this out on my Twitter, but and we can read through the entire ruling in a second, but I said, don't forget, the Supreme Court's ruling today helps lay the groundwork for Project 2025. When Roberts wrote, when the president exercises such authority, Congress cannot act on and courts cannot examine the president's actions. He is describing the maximalist version of unitary executive theory that can be found in Project 2025. I'm drinking iced tea. Unitary executive theory advocates for full presidential control over the executive branch without checks from Congress or the Supreme Court. And essentially, we went over this. The craziest part is we went over this on stream the other day. We talked about unitary executive theory and Project 2025, and And the ruling directly links back to all of that. So let's go back to this thread. Today's decision is about as big a win for Trump as he could possibly wanted or expected. The conservative supermajority creates a sweeping new kind of presidential immunity that will insulate many of his allegedly criminal acts from indictment or prosecution. Just huge. Justice Sotomayor's dissent. See, I got it now. Sotomayor. It rolls off the tongue better that way too. Sotomayor. Yo, are you still gonna be live in an hour? Most likely, yeah. You can DM me. Yeah, long live the Emperor Biden. Long live Dark Brandon at this point. Yeah, it allows for dictators, and basically what it says is that presidents are immune. Just to summarize it, from my understanding, presidents are immune from being criminally charged for any actions that count as official conduct, but basically anything can count as official conduct according to this ruling. So they do separate between official conduct and unofficial conduct, but the way they describe it in the ruling is that almost everything can apply as official conduct. So for example, if Donald Trump has somebody commit crimes for him so he can get back into office and he promises to pardon that person, that pardon will count as an official act. And not to mention, Donald Trump has already talked about pardoning the January 6th hostages. That's what he calls them. So now when he appoints these, going back to Project 2025, when he appoints these tens of thousands of civil servants, essentially what will happen is they can break the law for him and he can pardon them. But yeah. So it's always been the difference between official and unofficial acts. But yeah, the way that they're defining these are wild. Let's keep going. Justice Sotomayor's dissent is one of the most terrifying pieces of judicial writing I've ever encountered. She lists the criminal acts that presidents can now take with immunity and says, quote, the president is now a king above the law. And remember, this is her dissenting, so this is her disagreeing, but it's basically a power grab. Looking beyond the fate of this particular prosecution, the long-term consequences of today's decision are stark. The court effectively creates a law-free zone around the president, upsetting the status quo that has existed since the founding. This new official acts immunity now, quote, lies about like a loaded weapon for any president that wishes to place his own interests, his own political survival, or his own financial gain above the interests of the nation. Yeah, so essentially, if it's an official act, the courts can't look into it. The courts can't examine it, and they can basically qualify anything as an official act, which is wild to me. Where was I? The President of the United States is the most powerful person in the country and possibly the world. When he uses his official powers in any way, under the majority's reasoning, he now will be insulated from criminal prosecution. Orders from the Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival? Immune. Organizes a coup to hold on to power? Immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon? Immune. Immune. Let the president violate the law. Let him exploit the trappings of his office for personal gain. Let him use his official power for evil ends, because if he knew that he may one day face liability for breaking the law, he might not be as bold and fearless as we would like him to be. That is the majority's message today. These are words from the Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor. And what she's saying right here is that the majority is arguing that if a president doesn't have immunity from official actions, then he'll start to second guess himself. But don't we want a president second guessing himself before taking extreme actions, wondering if he could be charged for this? We don't want a president that just willy-nilly does anything he wants because he knows for a fact that he has immunity. That's what they're saying. Because if he knew that he may one day face liability for breaking the law, yeah, just for clarity, what is an official for an unofficial act went from the Supreme Court, and now they've kicked it back to a lower court. Someone in chat said it went from Congress to the Supreme Court. So yeah, the Congress used to be the one that said if it was an official act or not. Even if these nightmare scenarios never play out, and I pray they never do, the damage has been done. The relationship between the president and the people he serves has shifted irrevocably. 1 second. Is everything functioning how it's supposed to with chat? I just set that up before the stream. Okay, chat looks good. Cool. I kind of like chat on the screen like that, on the screen. Yeah, so this is Sotomayor's dissenting opinion. Both Sotomayor and Jackson below are extremely skeptical that the majority's... Yeah, this is a terrible decision. And the thing is, the Supreme Court has just been full of terrible decisions all week, ever since the Chevron decision. Then they made another January 6th decision earlier this week, which wasn't nearly as bad as this. But both Sotomayor and Jackson are extremely skeptical that the majority's... There's a path removed and a delay imposed as it has to go through the process. That delay gives effective carte blanche. Yeah. Oh, the stream description still messed up. No, Nevermind is here. Keep throwing stuff in chat. You've got some great insights. Because we're just about to read this document. So if you guys want to throw anything in chat that you've read about it so far, feel free. You guys can link. I don't know if you can throw links in chat. I'll try to make it so you can. But yeah, any insights? All right, let's read this. Oops. Both Sotomayor and Jackson are extremely skeptical that the majority's arbitrary and irrational distinction between official and unofficial acts will allow accountability for Trump or any future president. An ominous sign for Jack Smith. Wow, an ominous sign for Jack Smith. What's up, Alec? So, right here. So one might ask, what remains of accountability for presidents under law? With today's paradigm shift, the majority leaves in place only the chance that this court might someday determine that the criminal conduct in question was an unofficial act. Let me read that one more time. So one might ask, what remains of accountability for presidents under the law? With today's paradigm shift, the majority leaves in place only the chance that this court might someday determine that the criminal conduct in question was an unofficial act, or that the government will somehow rebut the presumption of immunity that applies to a president's official acts, such that criminal consequences might attach. But with the parameters of official and unofficial conduct unknown, I think it is highly unlikely that a sitting president would feel constrained by these remote possibilities. So what they're saying right there, what Sotomayor and Jackson are saying, is that a president won't feel constrained because they haven't, number one, they haven't fully defined the parameters of official and unofficial acts, but the only way for an act to be deemed unofficial is if the Supreme Court deems it such, or if the government somehow rebuts the presumption of immunity that applies to the president's official acts. So it is wild. We should open up a note document and take some notes on this, is what I was trying to say. I mean, it honestly goes hand in hand with Project 2025, so we could even add some of it to the Project 2025 doc. Let me see, is chat still on screen with this? Yeah, this is pretty decent. Okay, and I have the ruling downloaded, so we will pull up the ruling in a second. Literally the building blocks for Project 2025. And this guy sent another tweet after. He said, I want to take a step back and say that I think the Supreme Court just fundamentally altered the structure and nature of democracy in America. It awards the president the measure of power and immunity that is much, much closer to a king or emperor than an elected official. Wild, wild stuff. It awards the president the measure of power and immunity that is much, much closer to a king or emperor than an elected official. The Supreme Court's conservative supermajority establishes new principles located nowhere in the text of the Constitution that permanently shields the president from meaningful accountability when he weaponizes the tools of his office for criminal purposes. That is shocking. The Supreme Court's conservatives have elevated the presidency significantly above, I'm thinking means, the other two branches of our federal government, awarding the president a king-like power to engage in violent, corrupt, or treasonous behavior without even the fear of prosecution for his crimes. This is crazy, and someone said this earlier, but the timing of this is so unfortunate. This happens, what, like 4 or 5 days after Biden's atrocious debate performance? It really feels like the timing of this could not be worse. Someone just linked me something interesting. 1 second, let me pull this up. Someone on Reddit gave a really good response. Where did that response go? I guess I'll just read through some of these. So they said, thoughts on this Supreme Court immunity? I think Barrett's opinion highlights the most concerning part. The fact that Part 3C effectively bars evidence of actions deemed official to be used as evidence at all. Her analysis of how this would affect a bribery is spot on and highly applicable to this case. The Supreme Court invented rules of evidence here and made it impossible to actually prosecute Trump, not to mention created endless appeals issues and impossible to be resolved within our lifetime. Wow, let me check out. So I just downloaded the Supreme Court ruling. Let me go find it. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Make sure you leave a like on the stream, people. Yeah, let's see if we can control F bribery here. Justice Barrett disagrees. Let's see. Trump asserts a far broader immunity than the limited one we have recognized. And by the way, this is straight from the document. Trump asserts isn't presidential immunity unconstitutional? From my understanding, not inherently unconstitutional. So there are actions that fall under the president's official acts. For example, Tim Pool always brings this up. I hate Tim Pool, but he talks about this a lot. Essentially, Trevor, I see you. We can do that later. I just hopped on. Give me a bit. But essentially, what was I even just saying? Martin Gingrich, explain how this is a great victory for the American people. Oh, yeah. Tim Pool always makes this argument that Obama should be arrested because he drone striked an American citizen on accident. It was collateral damage when he was going for some terrorist cell. He was going for a very specific terrorist. He accidentally killed, I think it was a teenage U.S. citizen. And people always say that Obama should be arrested for that if Trump is going to be arrested for this. But you can argue that that falls under the official conduct of the President of the United States trying to protect our own interests. He was trying to remove a terrorist. So what they've done is they've expanded what counts as an official act. So now if the president bribes somebody, if the president has someone commit a crime and then pardons them, it's wild. So let's read this. 1 second. Oh, my bad. I didn't know ads were playing. Trump asserts a far broader immunity than the limited one we have recognized. He contends that the indictment must be dismissed because the impeachment judgment clause requires that impeachment and Senate conviction precede a president's criminal prosecution. We've heard that argument before. I'll keep the ads on, but what I can do is I can pause the ads for certain periods of time. Yeah, why should this ruling be retroactive? That's a really good question. Why are they? Yeah. I guess because this question has never been asked before. The text of the clause provides, and another really good argument against presidential immunity, and this actually completely is perfect for this case, is that President Ford pardoned President Nixon after Watergate, which implies that both Nixon and Ford knew that Nixon could be prosecuted, could go to jail for his crimes. So why would Nixon accept that pardon if why would Nixon accept that pardon if presidents had presidential immunity? They wouldn't. And with this new ruling, Nixon could have argued that his attempt at Watergate, of covering up Watergate, of paying people hush money to cover stuff up, fell under an official act because he was trying to stop somebody from winning. Yeah, I just experienced a lapse of memory. I just had a Joe Biden moment, and they're not about to fire me. I don't think Joe has to go, Chris. I think, honestly, this is an argument in favor of Joe Biden staying, of President Biden staying. Right now, he probably has the best chance of beating Trump. And honestly, if there's any argument for this being a good ruling, maybe it helps it helps Democrats be more energized to go vote. But let's keep going. Yeah, no matter how you slice it, if the founding fathers wanted immunity, it would be in the Constitution. So to keep going, the text of the clause provides little support for such an absolute immunity. It states that an impeachment judgment, quote, shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office or honor, trust, or profit under the United States. It then specifies that, quote, the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to the law. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Justice Barrett disagrees, arguing that in a bribery prosecution, for instance, excluding any mention of the official act associated with the bribe would hamstring the prosecution. But of course, the prosecutor may point to the public record to show the fact that the president performed the official act, and the prosecutor may admit evidence of what the president allegedly demanded, received, accepted, or agreed to receive, or accept in return for being influenced in the performance of the act. What the prosecutor may not do, however, is admit testimony or private records of the president or his advisors probing the official act itself. Allowing that sort of evidence would invite the jury to inspect the president's motivations for his official actions and to second guess their propriety. As we have explained, such inspection would be highly intrusive and would seriously cripple the president's exercise of his official duties. So how I'm interpreting what Justice Barrett is saying right here is that if a president were to bribe somebody, that the courts that were then trying to charge him, then trying to convict him for that bribery, wouldn't actually be able to dig into the action of the president bribing somebody, because that would be highly intrusive, as they say, and would seriously cripple the president's exercise of his official duties. And the argument that she's making as to why it would seriously cripple the president's exercise is because the president would constantly be second guessing or would be thinking too much about whether or not they should commit an act. But it shouldn't be that hard, right? It shouldn't be that hard to know that bribing somebody, number one, is not legal or not okay. But she's saying that that would be highly intrusive. Let's go back to this thread. I think Barrett's opinion highlights the most concerning part, the fact that Part 3C effectively bars evidence of actions deemed official to be used as evidence at all. That is a great point. Any acts that are deemed official just can't be used as evidence, whatsoever. Her analysis of how this would affect a bribery is spot on and highly applicable to this case. Let's go back to this. Are there other mentions of a bribery? Okay, wait. Here's Barrett continuing. I guess we can start right here. One second, guys. The Constitution does not require blinding juries to the circumstances surrounding conduct for which presidents can be held liable. Here's what's really interesting. Consider a bribery prosecution, a charge not at issue here, but one that provides a useful example. The federal bribery statute forbids any public official to seek or accept a thing of value, quote, for or because of any official act. The Constitution, of course, does not authorize a president to seek or accept bribes, so the government may prosecute him if he does so. She then cites a bunch of precedent, yet excluding from trial any mention of the official act connected to the bribe would hamstring the prosecution. To make sense of charges alleging a quid pro quo, even Beta Ray said, even though this ruling is horrible, he should still be subjective to the bribery clause. Whoops, because as Citizen Trump, as well as guilty of withholding classified documents while not in office. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Yet excluding from trial any mention of the official act connected to the bribe would hamstring the prosecution. To make sense of charges alleging a quid pro quo, the jury must be allowed to hear about both the quid and the quo, even if the quo, standing alone, could not be a basis for the president's criminal liability. I appreciate the court's concern that allowing into evidence official acts for which the president cannot be held criminally liable may prejudice the jury. But the rules of evidence are equipped to handle that concern on a case-by-case basis. Most importantly, a trial court can exclude evidence of the president's protected conduct, quote, if its probative value is substantially outweighed by a danger of unfair prejudice or confusing the issues. The balance is more likely to favor admitting evidence of an official act in a bribery prosecution, for instance, than one in which the protected conduct has little connection to the charged offense. And if the evidence comes in, the trial court can instruct the jury to consider it only for lawful purposes. I see a lot of people that are being very pessimistic in chat, and yeah, of course this ruling is terrible, but the election is far from over. The election is far from over. Let me respond to this text. Sotomayor also, Sotomayor also points out the issue with bribery in her dissent. Bribery, by definition, requires an official act. This simple example should be enough to convince it's going to take more than Biden getting elected. Yeah, it's going to take more than Biden getting reelected, but it's a really good start. Sotomayor also points out the issue with bribery in her dissent. Bribery, by definition, requires an official act. This simple example should be enough to convince any reasonable person that a president cannot have complete immunity. She also points out that taking the originalist position and implying a history of tradition approach shows that the framers of the Constitution knew how to apply immunity. They did so with the speech and debate clause. The fact that they did not do so for the president speaks volumes. They would have been very aware of the idea of the sovereign immunity of the king, as they've all lived under such government. To suggest that they would then grant the president the very same immunities is the height of idiocracy. Or idiocy. Whoops. Somebody linked me this and said there's something really good in this thread, so we're just reading through it and we're going through the document. Jamie asked, if you had to pick a replacement candidate for Biden right now, or had to pick the Democratic candidate for 2028, who would be the top pick among current Democrats? So just to start off, I think that Biden should not drop out. I think we need to rally behind Biden, absolutely. Oh, was that loud? Now whenever I get donos, the donos pop up on screen, guys. Let me know if it's too loud. Doesn't this mean Biden has automatic immunity? Basically, yeah. Right now, the Supreme Court, since this morning, the Supreme Court says that Biden has the same immunity. Yep. It's not automatic blanket immunity, I should clarify. It's immunity from official acts. But what they've done is muddy the waters of what an official act is so much that basically anything can qualify as an official act. Things that you won't want to qualify as an official act, such as bribing somebody. So why doesn't Biden do something? Somebody asked. Because Biden is Biden is a huge advocate of precedent. Biden really doesn't want to break precedent. Like, think about it. When has Biden ever been the candidate who's just down to break precedent and do something that people don't do? The very reason that Biden decided to run for a second term is because of the incumbency advantage and the precedent of not dropping out. But to go back to that question, who would I choose? Someone said they didn't muddy the waters at all. They covered this in a decision, but they essentially threw it back to the courts. Yeah, Trevor, DM me on Instagram. Who would I want in 2028 is the question. I would want probably Gretchen Whitmer and Gavin Newsom. If it was being held right now, Gretchen Whitmer and Gavin Newsom. Gretchen Whitmer is the main. Thank you, Accidental Seller. I appreciate that. Thumbs up for using macOS. By the way, remember this ruling will also benefit future presidents, such as Democrats, but no president should be above the law. Absolutely. This will benefit all future presidents, but it was written for Donald Trump. So if Donald Trump gets back into office, we may not have the chance to be deciding other presidents. I really don't want to be doomer. I really don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, we may not have elections after, but after this ruling, our elections may be completely messed up. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Something a lot of people missed. Remember that that recently Judge Cannon heard a motion to have the special counsel removed because he doesn't exist under the Constitution. Justice Thomas' concurrence. It is difficult to see how the special counsel has an office, quote, established by law as required by the Constitution. None of the statutes cited by the Attorney General appears to create an office for the special counsel, and especially not with the clarity typical of past statutes used for that purpose. Might as well have neon signs and a bullhorn saying Judge Cannon is right here. So again, in this ruling, they vindicate Judge Cannon. They lay the groundwork for Project 2025. It's wild. If Biden ordered Trump to be blanked today and went out of his way to establish that the order was given as a part of his official duties, would this precedent make Biden immune from prosecution? And what they said in the in the ruling is, we have identified a terrorist seeking to undermine our free and fair elections, an insurrectionist with repeated previous attacks on our country and its operation. He has a powerful network of supporters and has infiltrated multiple ranks of governments and courts. He is a threat and danger to the fabric of our country. For the protection of our people, our country, and our Constitution, we have ordered SEAL Team 6 to eliminate that threat to America. You know what we should probably do is go through this and look up SEAL Team 6. Right now, I just see Sotomayor's dissent where she brings up SEAL Team 6, but we can read this in context too. I like Pete Buttigieg a lot. I think Pete will be an amazing president. I think when he ran in 2020, he was still a little bit too, let's say, fresh, a little bit too young. And I don't want to say inexperienced, but that's probably what would be the main attack on him, is his inexperience. But now he's actually served in the cabinet of a president. Paisley Turtle said, sorry if this has been addressed. First of all, thank you for the dono. Thank you guys all for the donos. Sorry if this has been addressed, but does this affect Merchan's sentencing? And if so, how? I don't think so. I don't know if this affects Merchan's sentencing that comes up in exactly 10 days. I don't quite know if it does. Sticky Monkey said, why is this being discussed? Because the Supreme Court came out with a new ruling. I guess let's just lay the groundwork here. Why are the documents I'm showing blurry? Is this blurry? To me, it's like really good quality on screen, so hopefully it's not blurry for you guys. Okay, cool. And you guys like having chat on screen, right? I think it's pretty cool. Is it still updating too? Yeah, I really like being able to see chat on screen. Pretty cool. Okay. The Supreme Court handed down a landmark decision Monday granting Donald Trump partial immunity from Special Counsel Jack Smith's election subversion case, handing the former president a significant win during his re-election bid. Someone said, Clarence said, your perception of quality is super sus after learning you're still supporting elderly abuse. Joe Biden himself said that he wanted to rerun. We're supporting the Democratic candidate. Joe Biden and his family and his doctors all said that he's okay to run, so yeah, I'm going to trust them. If it's elder abuse, then that means Joe Biden is abusing himself, man. Yeah, okay, sorry, I'm not going to give the trolls time. Through the 6-3 ruling, Though the 6-3 ruling technically allows Smith to inch the prosecution towards resolution, the majority opinion from Chief Justice John Roberts left many technical questions unresolved, making it increasingly unlikely that a trial can get underway before November's election. We all want Obama back. Quote, "The president is not above the law," Roberts wrote for the conservative majority. Quote, "But Congress may not criminalize the president's conduct in carrying out the responsibilities of the executive branch under the Constitution." Smith's case now returns to lower courts, which must review the specific steps Trump took to overturn the results of the 2020 election and whether those actions were official and therefore receive immunity or private and do not. Here's a look at the key takeaways from the historic decision. Trump got a bigger win than expected, unfortunately. I'm not going to lie, us liberals have had a rough week. After this debate, after these Supreme Court rulings, not a good week. But it's not over. I see a lot of people saying like democracy is over. I don't see that. Not yet, at least. Not yet, guys. Yeah, we have the transcript of the debate to read, too. The transcript of the debate looks pretty good. All right. Yeah, can you imagine what the history books say? All right, let's keep reading. In several key aspects, Trump got what he wanted from the 6-3 court and more. For starters, the Supreme Court ruled that for core presidential activity, Trump has the absolute immunity he had sought. The majority said that Trump's conversations with the Justice Department, his efforts to try to get officials on board with his effort to overturn the election, were covered with absolute immunity. How? How are these covered with absolute immunity? How is that an official act trying to pressure different officials, pressure different people in the DOJ to get on board with his efforts to overturn the election? Yeah, Accidental Seller is right. If Trump wins in November and it's a fair election, whether we like it or not, that's democracy and we'll have to accept it. Brennan, thank you for the dono. King Joseph I, hell yeah. Hopefully Joe Biden just appoints Hunter Biden and says that it's an official act. The Blah says, seriously, this doesn't seem like the end to you people? Why not? Because we still have an election in 4 months. I think that election signifies whether it's the end or not. If Biden wins the election in 4 months, this is a really good comment. Biden should be on TV right now explaining what this ruling actually means for the country. Instead, everyone is downplaying it. I don't know if everyone's directly downplaying it, but I do think that Biden should be on TV right now. Sorry, I just turned off Discord. Biden should be on TV right now explaining this. Honestly, Biden should have gone on TV and explained the fake elector case the second that it would have seemed like he was playing an active role. But Biden needs to be going in front of the cameras and explaining what Donald Trump did. I don't think most American citizens have heard of the Raffensperger phone call. And I know for a fact, because I've been to Trump rallies, I've asked Trump supporters and my independent friends, and none of them know what the Raffensperger phone call is. Honestly, I think that's a failure on the part of the Democrats. Every single person in America should know what the Raffensperger phone call was. That was a huge attack on our democracy. And now the Supreme Court is saying stuff like the Raffensperger phone call, stuff like, Stuff like Trump pressuring the DOJ, they fall under criminal immunity. Yum Food said, Adam, call the White House. Yeah, let me ring Biden up. He's on my speed dial. Wild. All right, let's keep going. I want to read this paragraph one more time. I reread stuff a lot, so. For starters, the Supreme Court ruled that for core presidential activity, Trump has the absolute immunity he had sought. The majority said that Trump's conversation with the Justice Department, his efforts to try to get officials on board with his effort to overturn the election, were covered with absolute immunity. Packing the court? I don't know. I don't know if Biden should pack the court. It's kind of extreme. It's rough because I say that that's extreme, but it's like everything that's going on right now is extreme. So do we want to keep playing into this game of chicken where we keep like eroding our democratic norms? Thank you, Krista Who. Thank you guys for being here. Insane ruling. For other official actions and more routine powers held by the president, the court said that there is at least some immunity, and it largely deferred to lower courts to sort that out. Yeah, this is so nearsighted. I agree, Bo. This is a wild... Yeah, the Supreme Court makes one decision because they all love, not all of them, 6 of them love Donald Trump. It's just wild. A lot of these rulings have just been crazy. And here's the thing. Yeah. Maybe after Biden wins, he could expand the court. I don't know how I feel about expanding the court. Summer Virgo, no reason to lose your appetite. I did the same thing on debate night, though. Yeah, what this primarily does is it delays the cases, but also there's a lot of crazy consequences from this. So, for other official actions and more routine powers held by the president, the court said that there is at least some immunity, and it largely deferred to lower courts to sort that out. That's what I was saying earlier. They sort of kicked it back to lower courts. That's a process that could take weeks or even months. The analysis about what's immune and what isn't, quote, ultimately is best left to the lower courts to perform. So that's what I was saying earlier, and someone on chat said I was wrong, but no, the Supreme Court kicked it back to lower courts to define what is official or unofficial. Perhaps even more important, the majority made clear that official acts cannot be considered at all as evidence in a potential trial, which could make it much harder for Smith to prevail. That's big right there. Roberts also wrote that the lower courts may not consider a former president's motive, which may allow Trump's attorneys to argue that he wasn't attempting to overturn an election in his favor at all. So there's so many arguments they can now use to get around this. If you could imagine, Trump could say that he truly believed Biden was a threat to democracy and that he tried to steal the election because he wanted to stop democracy from being stolen. It's just such a backwards argument that the Supreme Court has now opened the door for. What's next in the federal case against Trump? With the justices giving the lower courts some limited guidance, the next steps are likely to be more hearings, written arguments, and even proceedings with witness testimony and debates over evidence before U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan in Washington, D.C. Those are likely to come in the days after the Supreme Court hands the opinion down formally to the federal courts in D.C. The mechanism for sending a case back down usually takes about as long as a month, but the High Court would act more quickly. Once Chutkan works through the legal issues, it's possible that more appeals of her preliminary decisions could put the case on hold again. Yeah, this is not a game. This ruling is wild. It's wild. Let me pull up this thread I was reading earlier on Twitter if I can find it. Ralph Nader said, a dictatorial, unelected majority in the Supreme Court has just rendered America a dictatorial president above the law. Thank you, Hillary Clinton, whose blundering campaign let the dictatorial Trump become president and led to a right-wing dictatorial majority on the Supreme Court. I'm not sure you can blame it all on Hillary Clinton. I'm not sure it's her fault. Yeah, Neverman, you're right. It's not nearsighted because the Supreme Court thought this out for long-term political gain. It's not nearsighted to them, but to us it seems quite nearsighted, right? Yeah, it's not Hillary's fault. Not all Hillary's fault. I mean, she could have done a few things better back in 2016, but I think it's messed up to... Oh, the only reason this tweet popped up in my feed is because people are mad at him. John Cooper said, go F yourself, you goddamn sanctimonious piece of... This person's pissed off. Somebody ratioed him and said, maybe Chief Justice John Roberts isn't there to write this opinion today if you don't run for president. Or did you think people would forget that on today of all mother effing days? Yeah. This is Ralph Nader tweeting this. I wouldn't say Hillary's fully to blame. I don't know if that's completely fair. Someone said, it's time. And it's Biden saying, hello, SEAL Team 6. I probably shouldn't even put this up on my stream. By the way, this is just my homepage, so we're going to see a bunch of random stuff. I don't follow anything Billie Eilish related. I don't know why that's on my feed. Jen Psaki said, There are a lot of important discussions and debates about this political moment we are in and the path forward, but the notion that the issue at the debate was the prep process done by people like Ron Klain, who is Biden's close advisor, longtime friend, and Anita Dunn, who have successfully prepped many candidates, including Obama, Clinton, and Biden, is absurd. This isn't even about the ruling. This is about the debate. It was a bad debate. I have no doubt they were tough, strategic, and direct. But prep does not always determine the outcome. The only thing is, I don't think that was Nardwar. I don't think their prep was perfect because they kind of stuffed Biden to the brim with all of these statistics and facts. And if you've ever watched Biden in any sort of debate, you know that like naming statistics, that's his weak point. He always messes up his billions, trillions, and millions, and he did that even like 5 years ago. Even 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, he would mix up his billions and trillions. So I don't know why they just stuffed him to the brim with a bunch of statistics. It doesn't make sense. Let's see. Oh my God. Do you guys see all those articles that said, like, to serve his country, President Biden should drop out? There's a new one. Martin Ginger said, I think there are other checks and balances to keep a president from dictatorship. We might be overreacting a bit. I don't know if we're overreacting. Let me lay this out on a notepad in just 1 second. Let me keep that thought. This is a joke, by the way. This is a joke article, but someone said, in full compliance with the Supreme Court's ruling, to serve his country, President Biden should drone strike Donald Trump. A little bit funny. A little bit funny. Maybe I shouldn't joke about these on live stream. What did Stephen King say? Thanks to the Supreme Court, the next president will have the powers of a king. That's not what the founders intended. Quite the opposite. Overturning Roe took power from women. Today's decision takes power from all of us. Yeah. I would like to see Brandon go dark Brandon mode. Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh in 2018. Under the Constitution, the president is not above the law. No one is above the law. The president remains subject to the law. Okay. So first of all, Martin, thank you for the dono. I don't think we're overreacting because essentially, as I explained on my Twitter, this lays the groundwork for Project 2025. And we've done a lot of research about this over the past few days. And honestly, it all kind of ties together perfectly. What I said was, don't forget, the Supreme Court's ruling today helps lay the groundwork for Project 2025. When Roberts wrote, and this is a quote directly from the document, when the president exercises such authority, Congress cannot act on and courts cannot examine the president's actions. He is describing the maximalist version of unitary executive theory that can be found in Project 2025. And let's pull up the Wikipedia. Project 2025, blah, blah, blah. It proposes reclassifying tens of thousands of merit-based federal civil service workers as political appointees, loyal appointees, in order to replace them with loyal conservatives to further the objectives of the next Republican president. It also adopts a maximalist version of the unitary executive theory, a disputed interpretation of the Constitution, which asserts that the president has absolute power over the executive branch. So this was a disputed interpretation of the Constitution until today, the Supreme Court, in particular, Justice Roberts, confirmed that that is how they want to interpret it. The president exercises these authorities. He cannot be checked by Congress. He cannot be checked by the Supreme Court. So essentially, this lays the groundwork for this maximalist version of unitary executive theory to be enacted on if Donald Trump gets back into office. And that is when the fun starts for MAGA. I don't mean fun, I mean the absolute nightmare for the rest of Americans. It's wild. It's wild. Because then, after Donald Trump appoints tens of thousands, unitary executive can't override the state's exclusive right to elect presidents. Unitary executive theory. Yeah, but that's not really what it says. It's just the president can basically do whatever he wants with no checks. And then from there, he can, populist in chat, typing Project 2025, or typing Trump 2024. That's how you get muted. Oh, I almost turned him into a moderator for a second. I almost turned this troll into a moderator. Yeah, so that's wild. The way that Project 2025 is yeah, I know. I need mods. The way that Project 2025 is written, basically, the way that this decision is written lays the groundwork for Project 2025. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, this Trump supporter thinks he has chat immunity. Thomas, good one. You're immune from all bans. All right. I trust you, Neverman. All right. There you go, Neverman. We now have a new mod. Liberals tear into majority for creating a king above the law. The court's 3 liberal justices pulled no punches, with 2 written dissents excoriating the majority opinion as an appalling affront to the nation's long-held principle that no one is above the law. That principle, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote, was washed away by a ruling that means that, quote, in every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. That is wild. What's up, Brett? Yeah, we're gonna have to rig this election extra hard. All of us need to have ballots of suitcases ready to bring into the polling station. Obviously joking. Don't come after me, Trump. Joined in full by the court's 2 other liberal members, Sotomayor, the court's senior liberal, wrote that the majority was relying on, quote, misguided wisdom to give Trump, quote, all the immunity he asked for and more. She was especially critical of the decision to not allow prosecutors to use anything done by Trump that is shielded by immunity as they try to convince a jury to convict him of all unofficial acts. Martin Ginger, thank you, homie. I really appreciate that. If he does something illegal, Congress could still open articles of impeachment. No? Or is impeachment out the window? Congress could open articles of impeachment. That's actually one of the arguments that they make, that a president can only be prosecuted if they were impeached before. And we all know that argument. But the problem is, what happens when you have a conservative majority on this, or a majority in Congress? What happens when the House is red, just like it is now, or what happens when Congress is red, just like it is now? Then number 1, they won't impeach them. Number 2, like Steve said in chat, impeachment is toothless. So, yeah, I mean, just imagine if Donald Trump does win this next election, then yeah, he will have, I mean, he can still be impeached, but if there's one chamber of Congress that is Republican, it's not going to happen. And then he can't be convicted or even charged. Should Biden pack the courts? Probably not. I don't think he should pack the courts. But let's run a poll. Think about this for 1 second before I put this poll up. Should Biden break precedent and start this essentially game of chicken of how quickly can we erode every single norm in our book? Do we really want to start that? Because you guys have obviously thought about what happens when you start packing the courts. One president packs it, they add 3 or 4 judges, however many you need. The next president comes in, they add 3 or 4 more, and then we get to a point where there's 100 Supreme Court justices, and now 50 years from now, the U.S. is broken into 2 separate sects. Half of the U.S. population will be Supreme Court justices, half won't be Supreme Court justices. That's what will happen. You guys get what I'm saying there, right? Once one president opens the floodgates, opens Pandora's box and begins to pack the courts, then we just basically lost the Supreme Court. Oh, wow. So far, a lot of you guys think he should. What other options do we have right now? Vote Biden back in. I guess he can't pack the courts, but yeah, I'm not so sure about packing the courts. Supreme Court term limits, maybe. Yeah, we've already lost. That's a good point. We've already lost the Supreme Court. But not totally. Biden, I can already say with almost certainty that, yeah, Biden will not pack the Supreme Courts. Biden is not the guy that breaks precedent, in my opinion. Accidental seller. Off topic, but as a Norwegian, it's weird that the US doesn't require voter ID. Most of EU and all of Scandinavia do, and it's a safety factor, in my humble opinion. The thing is, I've never heard of a precinct where you can show up with no form of voter ID whatsoever. I've never heard of that. Whether it's your driver's license, whether it's even your passport. The thing about voter ID that was controversial a few years ago, from my understanding, it was, and yeah, many states already require voter ID, but let me make sure that I have the right state. I think it was in South or North Carolina. Which one was it? Was it North or South Carolina? There's always been voter ID. Okay, court. This is, so this is something that people miss a lot. A lot of people are under the impression, number one, that there's no voter ID. There is, but a lot of people misunderstand this North Carolina thing where we were talking about voter ID. And what the Supreme Court of North Carolina said is that there were laws targeting black communities with almost surgical precision. I'm going to put that in quotes because they quoted it. Almost surgical precision. They were targeting black communities and trying to, I think they were introducing new forms of ID that they knew black voters disproportionately didn't have. And what not Supreme Court justices, what MAGA people always ask me at rallies is like, oh, you think black people are too dumb to get ID? That's not what it is. Nobody is saying that black people are too dumb to get ID. It's just that certain people don't have the means to, number one, take time off of work to go, number two, to wait in line, or to even, there's so many different reasons that black people may not have a specific form of ID. And yeah, and it's not just black people. It's not just black people. It's also anybody who's poor in America, anybody who's disabled and is unable to go get a driver's license or something like that. Here, let me read this article. A federal appeals court panel struck down North Carolina's voter ID law on Friday, overturning what's considered the broadest piece of restrictive voting legislation passed in recent years. This is the second voter ID law to be overturned in many weeks, while another was weakened. A separate federal appeals court struck down Texas last Wednesday, ruling that it discriminated against black and Latino voters by presenting an undue burden to accessing the ballot. Where's the quote about almost surgical precision? Because that's what I mainly remember. They were saying that they were targeting black communities. Okay, right here. Discrimination with almost surgical precision. In North Carolina, African Americans vote overwhelmingly for Democrats. United States audit, those aren't the reasons? What are the reasons? I'm reading it right now. They came out to vote in record numbers in 2008 and 2012 for President Barack Obama and helped to turn the traditionally Republican-leading state into a swing state. North Carolina went to Obama in 2012 and Mitt Romney in 2008 and Mitt Romney in 2012. In 2013, Shelby v. Holder, the Supreme Court overturned a section of the Voting Rights Act that required North Carolina and other states with a history of voter discrimination to submit any voting law changes to the federal government for approval. A day after the Shelby decision, Republican lawmakers in North Carolina announced plans for an election law that the federal appeals court has since found restricted voting and registration in several ways, all of which disproportionately affected African Americans. We're getting to the surgical precision part in 1 second. The court said that in crafting the law, the Republican-controlled assembly requested and received data on voters' use of various voting practices by race. United States audit, there are so many reasons why certain people, just read this. Read what I'm reading. United States audit. The Republican-controlled General Assembly requested and received data on voters' use of various voting practices by race. It found that African American voters in North Carolina are more likely to vote early, use same-day voter registration, and straight-ticket voting. They were also disproportionately less likely to have an ID and more likely to cast a provisional ballot and take advantage of pre-registration. Black voters are less likely to have an ID for a multitude of reasons. It's not just because they can't get off work. I listed multiple reasons. Then, the court said, lawmakers restricted all of these voting options and further narrowed the list of acceptable voter IDs. They further narrowed the list of acceptable voter IDs. With race data in hand, the legislature amended the bill to exclude many of the alternative photo IDs used by African Americans. Is audit still here? Listen to this. They narrowed the list of acceptable voter IDs. With race data in hand, the legislature amended the bill to exclude many of the alternative photo IDs used by African Americans. As amended, the bill retained only the kinds of IDs that white North Carolinians were more likely to possess. Let's get to the surgical precision part, then we can move back to the Supreme Court ruling. The state offered little justification for the law, the court said. Those who defended the law said they were doing so to prevent voter fraud. Quote, although the new provisions target African Americans with almost surgical precision, they constitute inapt remedies for problems assertedly justifying them and, in fact, impose cures for problems that did not exist. There's a PBS article. Somebody asked me to link that. Yep. So this is what happens with voter ID laws, and most people aren't aware of that. Sorry for the side tangent, but so many people get this case wrong, or they say that like Democrats are racist and think black people can't get IDs. No, the court specifically got race data from different voters in North Carolina and specifically excluded many of the alternative photo IDs used by African Americans with almost surgical precision. Oh, is Bo in here? Why is everyone saying Bo of the fifth column? I love his videos. I love Bo of the fifth column, for sure. I just got a new CNN notification about this. Oh my God. Massive news. Massive news. The Hawk-Tuah girl, aka Haley Welsh, has come out against Donald Trump in her first ever interview. Sorry, I didn't mean to get you guys worked up. It's not really that big of news. Anyone know who this girl is? Sorry. Never mind. She went viral on Twitter. Never mind. Yeah, game over for Trump. Big win. She just took down the Supreme Court. She's just some meme from like, I don't know, TikTok. I don't know. People always send it to me. So Bernie Sanders made a statement. Blue wave because of Hawk-Tuah girl? It's over. People saying who, it's just some random girl that went viral on TikTok. Don't even worry about it. Just literally the most random thing in the world. Bernie Sanders issued a statement. Let's read this. Over the years, among many other disastrous rulings, the right-wing court has given use... I can barely read this. The right-wing court has given us Citizens United, which created a corrupt, billionaire-dominated political system. It overturned Roe v. Wade, removing women's constitutional right to control their own bodies. Last week, the court chose to criminalize poverty by banning homeless encampments in public spaces, forcing more poor people into the cycle of debts and poverty. All of these awful rulings. With the Chevron case, they've made it far more difficult for the government to address the enormous crises we face in terms of climate change, public health, workers' rights, and many other areas. And today, the court ruled in favor of broad presidential immunity, making it easier for Trump and other politicians to break the law without accountability. These are just some of the dangerous rulings from a right-wing, corporate-sponsored Supreme Court that continues to serve an extremist agenda. If these conservative justices want to make public policy, they should simply quit the Supreme Court and run for political office. Savage as hell, Bernie Sanders. At a time of massive income and wealth inequality, billionaire control of our political system, and major threats to the foundations of American democracy, it is clear to me that we need a real Supreme Court reform. A strong, enforceable code of ethics is a start, but just a start. We'll need much more than that. Fire. You can always count on Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is always on fire. His good line was right here. If these conservative justices want to make public policy, they should simply quit the Supreme Court and run for political office. Facts. Rick Wilson said, "Huck to a girl turns my floppy drive into a solid state." Good point. Name one good Trump policy. I don't know who you're asking that to, but last time I asked a Trump supporter that, they froze for 15 seconds. Were you guys there for that on stream? Rick Wilson said, "I'd like to thank the Supreme Court for granting Joe Biden godlike official powers. I think his first step should be to declare all Trump golf courses as protected federal wildlife preserves and seize them by eminent domain. It's an official act, so it's cool, right?" That would be hilarious. But Biden's not really the type that just does crazy stuff like that. Yeah, I love Operation Warp Speed. That's my favorite Trump policy. Favorite Trump accomplishment, Operation Warp Speed. Good answer, Spades. This would be funny though, right? Rick Wilson wants Biden to declare all Trump golf courses as protected federal wildlife reserves and seize them by eminent domain. Wild stuff. Let me see. This is wild. Justice Sotomayor's dissent warning is unlike anything I've ever seen in a Supreme Court opinion. And I already read this, but let's read it a little bit more. Today's decision to grant former presidents criminal immunity reshapes the institution of the presidency. It makes a mockery of the principle, foundational to our Constitution and system of government, that no man is above the law, relying on little more than its own misguided wisdom about the need for, quote, bold and unhesitating action by the president. So what they're saying about bold and unhesitating action, the argument that people like Roberts, the argument that they're making is that the president will begin to hesitate if he knows that he is not immune to any official actions, not immune to being convicted for any official actions. So that's why they keep making this argument that the president will begin to hesitate, but don't you want the president to hesitate before committing a crime, right? But also what they're arguing is that the president will begin to hesitate not knowing whether or not something is a crime. And this is the Sotomayor, this is the craziest part. Never in the history of our republic has a president had reason to believe that he would be immune from criminal prosecution if he used the trappings of his office to violate the criminal law. Moving forward, however, all former presidents will be cloaked in such immunity. If the occupant of that office misuses official power for personal gain, the criminal law that the rest of us must abide will not provide a backstop. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. Incredibly, incredibly powerful stuff right here. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. Give me 1 second. I need to check this message I just got. Insane stuff. And you guys can't hear videos if I play them, right? You can't. You guys can't hear that? Yeah, that's weird that videos aren't playing. Let me try to fix this. Huh. 1 second. My bad. I just switched my mic for a second. My bad. All right, I switched my mic, but you might not be able to hear it still. Okay, let's keep going. Nancy Pelosi made a statement. Today, the Supreme Court has gone rogue with this decision, violating the foundational American principle that no one is above the law. The former president's claim of total presidential immunity is an insult to the vision of our founders who declared independence from a king. Very true. Let me open this back up. Okay, my friend linked me this thread earlier, a Reddit thread, and he said he linked me a specific comment, but there was some really interesting stuff in here. Some people were breaking this down. Also, I think Biden needs to immediately forgive all student loans, all of them, 100%, no strings. And when the Republicans in the Supreme Court cry, just say it's an official act, F you. Then legalize marijuana. Fight fire with fire. Ooh, that would be a really good move for Biden. Biden immediately forgives all student loans, says it's an official act, and then legalizes marijuana, saying it's an official act. Then, boom, Biden's reelection is guaranteed after that marijuana ruling. Someone said, agreed. The only path to victory now is to come out swinging. Liberals and liberal-aligned folks across the spectrum are feeling disheartened and disillusioned at the moment. And the only way to truly light a fire in their hearts, in this moment is to trailblaze. The only way to truly light a fire in their hearts is to trailblaze. The Supreme Court just handed him an opportunity to trailblaze with impunity. And if they speak out in dissent, it highlights their hypocrisy. If the Supreme Court truly moves to stop Biden improving the country in this manner, for the first time ever in my life, I would support Biden, echoing famous asshole President Andrew Jackson. The Chief Justice has made his decision. Now let him enforce it. Right? You guys agree with that? Also, let me replace this poll. You guys overwhelmingly voted that Biden should pack the courts. I gotta say, I slightly disagree. Enable desktop audio in the OBS sound settings. I got you. I've heard of Alan Lichtman's 13 Keys. I actually might have him on stream. By the way, thank you for the dono. Have you heard of Alan Lichtman? What do you think of his 13 Keys to the White House? He says replacing Biden would be a huge mistake. Okay, I have a few thoughts. I have heard of Alan Lichtman. I want to have him on my show. I think that his 13 keys aren't totally predictive. I think that they've been right a lot, but I find it hard to say that we can predict this completely unprecedented election using keys that are based off of precedent. So right now, Alan Lichtman has the charisma key for Biden checked as a yes. He said that Biden is very charismatic. But what if people disagree with that? What if half the country who saw him during the debate doesn't think he's charismatic anymore? What if they don't think so? So I'm just not sure that the keys are completely right. But then the last question you asked, he says replacing Biden would be a huge mistake. I also agree. I also think that replacing Biden would be a huge mistake. Give me 1 second here. Now let's see. Can you guys hear this? Oh, you still can't hear it? Damn, my bad. 1 second. 1 second. Give me 1 second. Oh yeah, Brian's awesome. Sorry, I was trying to get my audio set up. I was just pulling up a Brian Tyler Cohen video. Let's keep reading this thread. This thread is giving me some... I see when my friend sent this to me. Yeah, then we lose the incumbency key. That's totally true. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Brennan, so much. Replacing Biden would only guarantee a Trump win. I absolutely agree with that. I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. Okay, so now we have Windows Sound Mixer. I got you in a second. So now we have actually some next steps forward. This is good. These are some good next steps forward. Biden needs to immediately forgive all student loans. No Witch Hunt said, I agree. Replacing Biden will be a huge mistake. That's all why all the Republican talking heads are pushing it on CNN. Very true. Let me tweet this out. This person on Reddit had a really good idea, so yes, I'm tweeting it out. Yep. Yep, and you can't transfer. Oh, we're doing some Project 2025 in a little bit. Just give me a few minutes to read through this Reddit thread. Okay. I think this is the best course of action for us right here. A lot of people feel like helpless or they don't know what to do. Let me read these donos. Replacing Biden would be a huge mistake. I totally agree. Butch Copper said, so a president could declare that liberals are a threat to national security and start putting us in camps chilling. Hypothetically, yeah. Hypothetically. How long until SEAL Team 6 goes to Mar-a-Lago? I doubt Biden's going to do that. Cypress Hill, hell yeah. All right, let's get back to reading this. My bad. I had to send off that tweet and I had to do some stuff. All right. So I really like this idea, right? You guys agree with this? Biden needs to forgive all student loans and legalize weed. As the Supreme Court cries, they say it's an official act. The only path to victory is to come out swinging. Liberals and liberal-aligned folks across the spectrum are feeling disheartened and disillusioned at the moment. The only way to truly light a fire in their hearts in this moment is to trailblaze. The Supreme Court just handed him an opportunity to trailblaze with impunity. And if they speak out in dissent, it highlights their hypocrisy. Someone said, I'm tired of playing within the rules. Rules that seem to constantly change depending on the letters behind your name or what policies you support. It's beyond time to start being extreme assholes. Fight them on the battlefield. You want immunity? Fine, I have it too. F you, I do what I want. No more student loans. Smoke a bowl of ganja. Grant amnesty for 1 million immigrants and then shut the border to curtail new immigrants. I don't know about that. Completely shutting down the border. I mean, maybe there's a way that Biden could grant amnesty for a bunch of immigrants, then reform the border, but I don't know about shutting down the border. Enacting the exact provisions of the bill that got shot down. Okay, that's fine. The bill that got shot down was honestly fine. It just increased funding for asylum judges. And, yeah, there's some good stuff in there. Install new Supreme Court justices. Just propose them and have the Senate ratify them. F them. I'm tired of being nice and getting our hands slapped. They want to shove their religion and ideology down our throat. I'll shove ours so far up their ass, they'll taste it every time they burp. Jesus Christ. Dude thinks he's in some, like, action movie right now. But I get what he's saying. He's right. I'm confused. Did the Supreme Court just give him immunity from prosecution? They can still overrule his executive actions, right? I don't see how this decision affects student loans. If he issues an order, who stops him? Scotus can sure say he's overruled, but what stops him from saying, yeah, F that? What enforcement mechanism does the Supreme Court have other than someone actually prosecuting him for his failure to enforce the law? Or, I guess, impeachment, they're saying. Yes, Bob. Yes. Bob just asked, should Joe Biden do off-script interviews for a comeback? That is exactly what he needs to do. The first thing Biden should have already done this. He should have gone on Fox News and done a town hall like the next day. You know, the next day when he was completely fine, he was on fire. He should have absolutely immediately done a Fox News town hall. He needs to go into the lion's den and show that this was just a one-off fluke debate and that he's not like this all the time. Still Alive says, there was a tweet by the Gretchen Whitmer camp where they secretly fear Biden losing Michigan if he stays on. Not sure if there's substance to that. When did she tweet that out? I can find that in a second. Yeah. Okay, here's some interesting stuff here. Under our constitutional structure of separated powers, the nature of presidential power entitles a former president to absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for actions within his conclusive and preclusive constitutional authority, and he is entitled to at least presumptive immunity from prosecution for all his official acts. There is no immunity for unofficial acts. From Roberts. How many people have passports and suitcases ready? Asks Trixie. Thank you for the dono, Trixie. I appreciate that. There's no reason to leave the country or give up. It's not completely over. It is far from completely over. And the big piece is, which I've gone over this, but the big piece is, any of the president's protected conduct can't be used as evidence. And as Barrett points out, that means you really couldn't convict a president or even charge a president for bribing someone. Which is wild. Thank you, Watcher. By the way, can you guys hear, whenever someone donates, it should pop up on screen, which it looks like it is. Can you hear that? Is it too loud or anything? Why aren't we saying Biden's playing 4D chess and lulling Trump into false security? Republicans would. Absolutely. That's what we should do. We have 4 months to go all in. You're right. Okay, I'm good that you can barely. It should, because for me, it's really loud. Joe Biden now has a lot of power and ought to use it as needed in the intervening couple of months after the election to defend this country from the far-right conservatives in the event of an election loss in November. The precedent has been set. Trump will certainly use it as much as he can. That's the reality that must be confronted. People are talking like a second Trump term is like a 100% sealed deal, but it's not. All the better to keep Trump from ever sniffing the presidency again, though, by just voting him down in November. Okay, I should have read the next line. Someone said, my super simplified summary of the Scotus decision. Trump claim that he is completely immune is too broad. Someone said, I think the debate was helpful and that we looked weak and MAGA is smug and may think they may not even need to vote. Yeah, but then so many liberals are feeling disillusioned too. Like, I have so many people that just don't really, they're like, oh, I just feel so burnt out. Yeah, a lot can happen between now and November. You know, I was saying about a month ago that I think that the event that decides the election hasn't even happened yet. But I hope that event wasn't the debate. Because when Biden was down in the polls about a month ago, the argument I would give is that there's going to be a massive event in the next 5 months that is going to decide the election. Was the debate that massive event? I don't know. I hope not. So a super simplified summary. Trump's claim that he is completely immune is too broad. The DOJ claim that he is completely not immune is too broad. It's president's purview to decide to investigate election fraud. But Donald Trump didn't just investigate election fraud. He went through the legal means, which was the 60 court cases that he took, but then he went through extra legal means by calling officials. That wasn't investigating, that was pressuring. By holding a rally right next to the Capitol at the Ellipse. That is not investigating. That is inciting. Wicked said, "We'll never give up fighting for this country. Keep fighting." Absolutely. The last thing we should do is move out of our country. Rogue Gamer, we can chat in a bit. I'm too dramatic. Oh, the guy I was reading earlier was too dramatic. Yeah. I agree. It is wild. Yeah, no need to leave the country. This decision fundamentally changes the entire fabric of the United States. Although it sounds hyperbolic to say, this is the most significant change in the federal government since the adoption of the 14th Amendment. The U.S. was only a constitutional republic because it was a government of laws that bound all equally, and the POTUS was restrained from violating the law only because of the fear of possible punishment for doing so. Brennan said, "Nah, the debate wasn't the event. Remember, Obama lost his first debate in 2012 and still won. I think it'll be something else." That is fair, Brennan. I think that's a fair point. And even the other day, we were reading something that, let me pull this up. I showed all of you guys this on stream the other day, but I think it's worth pulling up again. I'm going to read this and I'm going to make the counter argument that I think should be made. So in 2012, Obama famously completely bombed his debate with Mitt Romney. And afterwards, there were articles saying this. So this was an article written in 2012, right after Obama absolutely bombed his debate. What the article says is, "I'm trying to rally some morale, but I've never seen a candidate this late in the game, so far ahead, just throw in the towel in the way Obama did last week. Throw away almost every single advantage he had with voters and manage to enable his opponent to seem as if he cares about the middle class as much as Obama does." How do you erase that imprinted first image from the public consciousness? A president incapable of making a single argument or even a halfway decent closing argument. And after Romney's convincing Etch-a-Sketch, convincing because Obama was incapable of exposing it, Romney is now the centrist candidate, even as he is running to head up the most radical party in the modern era. This could have been written last night, no? I mean, not last night. This could have been written last week, no? This literally could have been written last week, but my counter argument would be the 2012 debate wasn't a referendum on whether or not the candidate can say a cohesive sentence, because the one thing Biden needed to do going into that debate was to dispel any myths about his age, dispel any idea that he was too old, and he did that in the exact opposite. Yeah, someone said, Cripple Dan said Obama was speaking English though. Yeah, this may have been a way worse look than Obama and Romney. And honestly, we should watch the Obama-Romney debate at some point. I think that'd be fun to watch. But right now, for some reason, people can't hear my monitor. Yeah, that was from 2012, just to show that people thought the same thing in 2012. The U.S. was only a constitutional republic because it was a government of laws that bound all equally, and the POTUS was restrained from violating the law only because of the fear of possible punishment for doing so. Now the court has invited POTUS to break the law whenever it is convenient or desirable. Worse, the POTUS motive for breaking federal law cannot ever be questioned, even if that motive is to, say, eliminate the constitutional rights of others or render those rights a dead letter. Consider the dissident who speaks against the president. Under the new regime announced by Justice Roberts today, the president can pick up the phone and call the DOJ and tell the Attorney General to find a reason to indict that dissident. The POTUS motive, silencing dissent in contravention of the First Amendment, cannot ever be raised in a court, so the fact that the POTUS is abusing an official power to silence dissent is not relevant. In fact, such an abuse is not only permitted but entirely anticipated. The real danger, and the reason I would say that this decision changes the United States into a dictatorship. Yep, also Fetterman and Oz, but there's other arguments that you can give. Fetterman had a stroke and people knew he would recover, but Biden could mainly get worse. I don't know. I don't know if he will. The real danger, and the reason I would say, one second, let me skip this ad. The real danger, and the reason I would say that this decision changes the United States into a dictatorship, is that there is only one important place in the U.S. where only federal law applies: Washington, D.C. This district is not a state. There is federal law prohibiting murder, but there is no state law prohibiting murder in the district. So when a POTUS orders troops into the Capitol and tells them to round up and murder XYZ congresspeople or senators, now this might be a little extreme, but who knows, or senators from the opposition, the POTUS can do that and pardon the troops, and neither action can ever be questioned in a court of law. The only remedy is impeachment, but the Congress can never assemble with any dissidents in it, because such persons can simply be summarily executed, and there's no law to punish those who carry out the executions. The POTUS who orders it cannot be indicted later, and his motive cannot ever be questioned. This is obviously the most extreme version, but it's true. It's a worthy concern. The POTUS could also turn that power against the court itself if he wanted to. For example, if the court tried to backtrack from today's decision and curb the immunity, something which will not happen if the POTUS has a sword of Damocles hanging over the justice's own necks as he does now. Accidental Seller said September 10th presidential debate will be the decider. I'm not going to lie, if I were Donald Trump, I would drop out of the September 10th debate. Donald Trump has nothing to gain from doing another debate. Trump has nothing to gain from doing another debate. Oops, my bad. I meant to pull over this Brian Tyler Cohen video. YouTube. Damocles. Okay, thank you. I think that if I were Trump, I would drop out of that debate. Damn your cleats. Okay. I don't know how I got to this point where I can't hear my own desktop, but one second. Boom, boom. Okay. The POTUS doesn't have to use extrajudicial killings to silence dissidents. That is just one very crude and effective means of doing so. More insidiously, the POTUS can just use paramilitaries to harass and intimidate judges and congresspeople to carry out his will. He can have the Proud Boys round up AOC and the other members of the squad, beat them within an inch of death on live TV on Pennsylvania Avenue, then hold a press conference to announce that he is pardoning the Proud Boys who carried out the act. Remember, again, these are very extreme examples. That is all activity that the POTUS is entirely immune to now, and his abuse of the pardon power cannot ever be questioned. If he goes back on his challenge, he's a coward. Trump, yeah, but what are people going to talk about more? Donald Trump going back on his debate challenge or Joe Biden's abysmal debate performance? I feel like Trump got everything he possibly could have wanted. The blah said, what are you reading from? Someone sent me this Reddit article, and I'm just reading through some of the replies. This was like the immediate replies from people about the ruling. Damocles. Damocles, okay. What does that mean? Oh, so they were directly interesting. I could get Robert Reich on the show. I could definitely get Robert Reich on the show. Outright violence is now legal, but so is just simple harassment. We should assume that a new element of Project 2025 will be obtaining lists of registered Democrats in every state and then using the IRS to audit them. The FBI/DOJ will be used to investigate. Yeah, I am very Gen Z. I know a lot of biblical stories, but I'm just not familiar with them. The FBI, DOJ will be used to investigate anyone who openly affiliates as a Democrat/opposition party, and we will see endless sham prosecutions of anyone who opposes the regime. This person is very, very doomer mode, very, very pessimistic about what will happen, but he's basically just laying out what could happen, what possibly could happen. Not exactly, David. David said if Trump wins, we are in camps. Not exactly. It doesn't automatically mean we're in camps, but like, yeah, Donald Trump will absolutely abuse this power as much as he possibly can, which is not good. Let's go back to Twitter. Thank you, Right Plight. AOC announced that she will launch articles of impeachment against the Supreme Court justices. Ocasio-Cortez vows to file impeachment articles against the Supreme Court. Representative AOC announced Monday that she will soon file impeachment articles against at least one justice on the Supreme Court in the wake of their decision to grant partial immunity to former President Trump as he faces felony charges for his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Ocasio-Cortez, a prominent liberal on the House Oversight Committee, said the ruling belies a central premise of American constitutional design, namely that no one is above the law, and threatens to put the country on a path to tyranny. True. Today's ruling represents an assault on American democracy. It is up to Congress to defend our nation from this authoritarian capture, she wrote on X. I intend on filing articles of impeachment upon our return. She did not specify which or how many of the justices she would target. Her office did not immediately respond to questions seeking clarification on Monday. I honestly don't think these articles of impeachment will go too far, as much as I wish they would, as much as I wish that that people would be completely ousted from the Supreme Court. Yeah, I just feel like we need to take the gloves off, but in a way that will work. The Republicans have spent decades getting the Supreme Court to be as right-wing as this, and we can't just remedy that in 4 months. Yeah, not enough votes, of course. It's not going to happen. The criticisms echo those coming from other Democrats and legal scholars following the Supreme Court's ruling that Trump cannot be prosecuted for official actions as he undertook as commander-in-chief. Yeah, we need to start playing dirty. Absolutely. 1 second. Let me see if I can get this. Yeah, play smarter, for sure. The decision arrived as Trump faces 4 felony charges related to his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election, which he lost to President Biden. Let me look this up really quickly. All right. Let's keep reading. Quote, the framers of the Constitution envisioned a democracy governed by the rule of law and the consent of the American people, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said. They did not intend for our nation to be ruled by a king or monarch who could act with absolute impunity. Trump's GOP allies, who have accused Biden of weaponizing the Justice Department to damage a political opponent, had a decidedly different view. They quickly hailed the ruling as a guardrail protecting presidents from retaliatory political attacks. The President of the United States must have immunity, like members of Congress and federal judges, which is necessary for any presidency to function properly. Do members of Congress have There's no shot that members of Congress have the same immunity that they're talking about. How many people have been charged with, what's the one dude's, Bob Menendez, wasn't he recently charged on something like corruption-wise? There's no way members of Congress have the same immunity that they're talking about. Really good point, Lee. Can you imagine how many Americans haven't got a clue about what the Supreme Court did? Absolutely. And that's also my concern with Project 2025. So say that Donald Trump does get back into office. They have limited immunity. Yeah, but that's what I thought, but not the same type of immunity that they're talking about, right? Haven't we seen people like Menendez get charged for stuff that they did while they were in the office of Congress? Here's my concern with Project 2025 really quickly. So, there's so many concerns, but imagine Donald Trump, they have narrow immunity under the speech and debate clause. Yeah, that was my takeaway. I know that they have some form of immunity, but I've seen members of Congress get in trouble for things that the president should be able to get in trouble for. So say that Project 2025 is enacted. Donald Trump gets into office and begins appointing tens of thousands of loyal and vetted civil servants into positions of power. Accidental Seller said jokingly, breaking news, my professional prediction, Trump names himself as VP, that way Trump can take over for Trump if Trump gets jail time. True? Yeah, good one. But say that Donald Trump begins to appoint tens of thousands of civil servants, and these people begin to break the law for him, and all of our institutions begin to crumble. The Supreme Court is working for Donald Trump. The FBI, the DOJ, they're all working for Donald Trump. Would the average American citizen even know what's going on? They would know that gas prices haven't gotten much higher. Other things haven't gotten much higher for the average American. Would the average American citizen even understand what happened? I don't think so. I think mostly the apolitical American citizens wouldn't understand the implications of a lot of this stuff. Not because they're dumb, but just because they don't pay attention. Thanks for being here, Janie. I always love when you guys are here live with me. It's always a great time. Fueling the Democrats' attacks. Keep joking, because this is so funny. I will keep joking, but thank you for the dono. I'm not saying that the Supreme Court ruling is funny, but I should be allowed to make jokes on my stream, homie. Fueling the Democrats' attacks, two of the conservative justices on the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, both have connections to Trump's Stop the Steal movement. Critics say that, as a result, both should rescue themselves from any cases related to January 6th, an entreaty they have refused. No reason to have too much anxiety, Tom. Everything will be okay. It's just, we got to figure this out over the next few months. Replacing Biden now would be a democracy death sentence. Yeah, I agree. What's up, Jen? Yeah, sorry, Benny Loco. No, but for real, making jokes is a good way to make things not so tense. I'm not joking about us losing our democracy. I'm just making simple jokes. Yeah, everyone just needs a big bucket of ice cream tonight. For sure. Incredibly wild stuff. Yeah, we're just coping with this. It's just humor. Send in the sharks. If we're not electrocuted to death, damn. Right now, democracy is in a boat that is about to sink. Democracy is either about to get electrocuted to death or eaten by a shark. Which one is it going to be? The Supreme Court did not define what constitutes an official action. This is what I was saying earlier. And someone in chat was like, that's false. But yeah, no. They failed to fully define it. Leaving that distinction to the discretion of a lower court. They kicked it back to the lower courts. The decision all but ensures that the outcomes of the case will not be known before voters go to the poll in November to decide the next president. A delayed timeline that prompted howls from Democrats and other Trump critics who accuse him of orchestrating the violence on January 6th. We don't just accuse him, we have proof. We have full proof. We're going to do streams going through the Eaten by Electric Sharks. True. We're going to do streams going through the January 6th Select Committee. I know that that's like a year old at this point, but we're going to do streams that soon. Thank you, Still Alive. Do you know anybody in any of the swing states and how they have been feeling about either Biden's debate performance or the Scotus decision? All of my friends in swing states, thank you, Ivorine. All of my friends in swing states are like staunch Biden supporters and they're going to vote for him no matter what. But yeah, I've had a lot of friends who are just like center-left Democrats who don't really pay attention, but they know that they're vaguely liberals. And a lot of them texted me on election night like, dude, this is not good. A lot of them texted me saying, I don't even know what to do at this point. But I think a lot of them can be won back over. That's a clean avatar, Gunk. I like it. Adam, can Congress make it so that Supreme Court justices must be elected by the American people? I don't know. I don't think that's possible. Brennan said, I think there's a chance the SCOTUS decision could help Biden because most people don't like this decision and could be more energized to vote. I agree. I do think that these people could, this decision could energize people to get out there and vote. That is the one silver lining. People have also been making that argument about the debate. A lot of people were saying that Biden had a terrible debate performance, but maybe it'll show people. Rogue Gamer lives in a swing state, and Rogue Gamer is voting Biden. We just have to keep pushing. Ocasio-Cortez, in announcing her impeachment articles, alluded to those connections, suggesting that justices who won't police themselves demand that Congress should step in to fill the void. Wild stuff. If I were in Biden's place right now, someone says, I'd have my speechwriters come up with a list of everything I could probably do now and be immune from prosecution under the Supreme Court's new guidelines. I'd then tell all the media outlets that I wanted to give a special address to the American people in prime time. In that address, what's up, Jessica? I tried to get your attention earlier. The barbershop dude is lying. He was not scammed. He signed a contract with the campaign. Let me look that up. See, what I heard about the barbershop dude is that, people were saying that he had Trump signs up, but the only pictures I saw was a TV in the barbershop and it said Trump on it. But yeah, this was a really good idea, actually. If I were in Biden's place, I'd have my speechwriters come up with a list of everything I could probably do now and be immune from prosecution under the Supreme Court guidelines. I'd then tell all the media outlets that I want to give a special address to the American people in prime time. In that address, I'd go through all the official acts I was now able to take. One might include unilaterally expanding the Supreme Court to include 5 new liberal justices that will vote in how I like. Heck, I might also include emergency removal of Justice Thomas on grounds of corruption, citing the inaction and inability of either of the 2 other branches to do so. Step by step, I'd list all of the horrifying things I plan to do with powers only potentially put in check by impeachment, elections, or maybe some refusal of an underling to carry out my orders. Of course, then I could just replace them with someone who will. Then at the end, I would reveal I was just kidding and didn't plan to do any of these things. This is where they're losing me. If Biden went up on stage and did that, people would genuinely think he's just losing his mind and wants to be a dictator. I'd close by saying my party, the Democratic Party, might impeach me for these actions. The Republicans in the Senate will not impeach President Donald Trump for similar actions. Now, more than ever, this election is not about what you think of me, but a choice between preserving our republic or allowing it to fail. I think that is a decent strategy, but could you imagine if Biden went on stage and started listing all of these crazy actions? Number one, if he stuttered one time, that would be further evidence that he has dementia. Number two, they could just clip Biden up saying these wild things and then remove the end where he goes, just kidding, I won't plan on doing any of this. So I don't know if that's a great idea. But Biden needs to do something. Has Biden released any statements yet? Let me look this up. Yep, exactly, Beavis. It's an interesting idea. Biden has not tweeted about it, from what I can tell, but he has tweeted this. Donald Trump set a new record for the most lies told in a single debate. I'm not even going to read all this, but yeah. This is the big lie right here. Yeah, I think it's a terrible idea, Kelly, too. I think that like the kernel of the idea is good. President Biden needs to go right now, give a speech, give a primetime speech, and lay out the consequences of this. But the idea that Biden should act like he's going to do all of this, I don't think that's a good idea for reasons that we've already said. The big one right here, this might be small, but if you guys can read this, it says, number one, I didn't have sex with a porn star. That's a lie. I'm glad they put that. But there was one that I just saw about Nancy Pelosi. Where did that go? Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this because I offered them 10,000 soldiers or National Guard and she turned them down. Someone told that lie in the debate I had on stream the other day. And it was a lie. Oops, not national. Lie. National Guard. Fact check. Trump's claim Pelosi turned down his offer to send National Guard members. Former President Donald Trump falsely claimed that then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi turned down his offer to send 10,000 soldiers and National Guard. Pelosi does not direct the National Guard. Number one, that's the argument that I made in the debate. I said that the commander-in-chief has ultimate authority, not the Speaker of the House. Further, as the Capitol came under attack, she and then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell called for military assistance, including from the National Guard. The Capitol Police Board decides on whether to call National Guard troops to the Capitol. It is made up of the House Sergeant at Arms, the Senate Sergeant at Arms, and the architect of the Capitol. The board decided not to call the Guard ahead of the insurrection, but it did eventually request assistance after the rioting had already begun, and the troops arrived several hours later. There is no evidence that either Pelosi or McConnell directed the security officials not to call, but yeah, Capitol Police Guard. But there's a video that they're talking about. They keep bringing up this video, the leaked video of Nancy in the car. I haven't seen this video yet. Nancy Pelosi on video. I'm not trusting the New York Post. Former President Trump, I think the tape does exist, but it's not. She doesn't say what people claim she says. Her daughter was there and filmed it. Let me find this video. No, I heard that the tape exists, but she's saying something completely different. They're twisting her words totally. I'm listening to her right now, and you guys might not be able to hear it. We have responsibility. Oops. I found the Nancy Pelosi tape. That is not what she's saying at all. That is not what she's saying at all. Oh my gosh. I know you guys can't hear the video, sorry. Nancy Pelosi says something to the effect of, we had no responsibility and no accountability. She might have been trying to say that Donald Trump didn't have any accountability or responsibility, but how this article twists it, it says, Nancy Pelosi admits that she did not have any accountability for lack of security. That is not what she was saying, though. This is not what she was saying. They totally twisted her words. One second. Boom, boom. Let me open this in archive. You guys can't hear the clip, but I'll play it. And I'll play it with. Here, I got you guys with the footage. But, one second. Give me 1 second. Yep, they are totally misconstruing her words. And there are videos of her calling for help. 1 second, I just lost this video. I have to get it from like either Facebook or the Megyn Kelly show or the New York Post. Sorry, give me 1 second. Here it is, here it is. Let me turn on closed captions. You guys can read what she's saying right there. She says, we have responsibility. We did not have any accountability. Now, what do you think she's talking about here? She doesn't even clarify what she has responsibility for, and she doesn't clarify what we did not have any. Do you think Nancy Pelosi is really sitting there saying, oh, we're not even being held accountable for not calling? That's not what Nancy Pelosi is arguing. And we should have had accountability. She says, we did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. She was not talking about herself. Diane says, sorry to bother you, but I'm just curious, how do you handle all of the stress? I don't know. I watch a lot of TV shows at the end of the day. After going through a long day of politics, I usually watch like Game of Thrones or whatever my show of choice is at the moment. Right now it's The Boys. Right now it's House of the Dragon, Halt and Catch Fire. I don't know. What are you guys watching? But also, she's totally wrong about this. Even if Forbes is a right-wing outlet, they're wrong about how they're misconstruing her words. They're totally taking her words out of context. Suits is good. I've seen the first 3 seasons of Suits. But then in my opinion, it started to get repetitive. Smiling friends. Team Green or Team Black? Isn't Rhaenyra in the right? For... I can't remember. Didn't Viserys say that Rhaenyra was the next queen, and then Aegon usurped it? So it has to be Rhaenyra, right? She's in the correct. She's in the right, right? See, she says, you're going to ask me in the middle of the thing. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that we should call the Capitol Police, National Guard. Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with? Absolutely, they're taking her words out of context. Absolutely, they're taking her words out of context. We can dig deeper into this once I'm able to have, for some reason my audio won't play through the desktop, but absolutely. Yeah, nobody expected that. Horrible histories. Yeah, The Boys has been great this season, but sometimes it makes me a little sick to my stomach. The Boys has always been like that. See ya, Brennan. Thank you for everything, Brennan. All right, let's keep scrolling through this. I like seeing Twitter's reaction. You know, I've really liked Ilhan Omar lately. Ilhan Omar came out in full support of Biden, even despite her disagreeing with him on Israel-Palestine. I also think, Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar need to have a talk, because Rashida Tlaib is cool too, but I'm pretty sure right now she's on like the complete anti-Biden train, and Ilhan Omar needs to sit her down and be like, hey, even if we don't like Biden, you have to understand the threat that Donald Trump is. Unless, has Rashida Tlaib come out in support of Biden yet? Because from what I remember, Rashida Tlaib is like right now, like, no, we can't rally around him. 6 Supreme Court justices lied under oath when they said they wouldn't overturn Roe v. Wade. 6 Supreme Court justices broke their oath of office by choosing Trump over the Constitution. Articles of impeachment for all 6. This is my friend, Jack. This is one of my buddies. And he posted AOC's tweet. Right now, from what I remember, Tlaib is not endorsing Biden. Like, she almost refuses to. But Ilhan Omar will. That's why I'm saying the two need to have a talk. Because Ilhan Omar understands that even if you don't support Biden's handling of Israel-Palestine, then yeah. Yeah, Trump better call Saul. Whoa. Quite a headline. The president can now assassinate you. Officially. Under this new standard, a president can go on a 4 to 8 year crime spree, then retire from public life, never to be held accountable. Still alive. Just saw from an article by Reuters that the Biden camp are considering doing a town hall. This could be really good or bad depending on what Biden we get. True, but should there be 2 different types of Bidens? Like, we should want... Yeah, I can make a video on the Chevron thing. Wait, so let me look this up. Biden team weighs July town hall interviews to reassure voters. Biden needs to do this now. Biden should have done this the next day. Biden should have done this literally the next day. What's up, Midas Kevin? Horrible Histories is a show from the UK that pokes fun at our earliest history with comedy. That sounds interesting. That sounds good. U.S. President Biden may increase his direct engagement. May increase. He needs to now. What do you mean may increase? With voters and journalists in the upcoming weeks. He should have been increasing this yesterday, hoping to reassure Democrats rattled by his dismal debate performance last week, according to 2 people involved in the planning. The events could include a mix of town hall with voters, one-on-one national interviews with prominent Washington journalists, or a solo press conference where Biden would field multiple questions, said the sources who requested anonymity. Fucking hell, whatever. July is shaping up as a critical month for Biden, 81, who is battling calls from his own party to step out of the race after a dismal debate performance. They used that word already. On Thursday, raising new questions. Biden should have absolutely done that. Absolutely. What's up, Doc in Paradise? What do you mean you're out for today? Let's read this article. What site is this? If you're talking about this town hall, this is Reuters. But if you're talking about this, it's The Nation. The president can now officially assassinate you by The Nation. Anonymity. Anonymity. I could say the word, I just couldn't read it. Anonymity. I know how to speak. Dixon Gaper, a lot of you are misinformed about this ruling. You can inform us in the chat. Welp, Donald Trump won. The Supreme Court today ruled that presidents are entitled to absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts, then contended that pressuring the vice president and the Department of Justice to overthrow the government was an official act. That is what blew my mind. When Donald Trump pressured Mike Pence and the DOJ, they said that was an official act. Then said that talking to advisors or making public statements are official acts as well. And then determined that evidence of what presidents say and do cannot be used against them to establish their acts are unofficial. Wild. Yeah, Banshee is supposed to be really good, right? Banshee is with the dude from The Boys. Adam, can Supreme Court justices be removed after impeachment? I'm pretty sure Congress has to impeach them, but they won't because Congress is not blue. Wouldn't a Supreme Court with as many members as possible represent the American public better? Maybe, but what do you mean by as many members as possible? Because if we begin to pack the courts, yeah, Supreme Court justices can be removed, but they're not going to be with a red Congress. I don't know if more Supreme Court members is good, because what happens when Biden opens Pandora's box and begins to pack the court? Say he adds 4 justices, then say, for example, Donald Trump wins. The dude from The Boys, the main guy, Homelander, and Anthony Starr is in this guy. Anthony Starr is in Banshee. Then say Trump gets back in office. Trump appoints 5 Supreme Court justices. Then the next guy, 8 Supreme Court justices. Then eventually we're at a point where half the American population are Supreme Court justices and the other half aren't. And Tony, yeah. Benny Loco. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming. I feel like more voices than 9 is better. Yeah, potentially, but it just depends on who the Supreme Court justices are. Because we could have 17 Supreme Court justices, but if they're all MAGA justices, then they don't represent the American population. I think what's more important is who appoints the Supreme Court justices, right? Because even if Biden appointed 10 Supreme Court justices, then we had more, but those will all represent the liberal half of the country, which honestly, we should be represented more. But I think what matters more is who appoints the Supreme Court justices, right? Rather than how many we have. Because again, what if we have 20 Supreme Court justices, but they're all MAGA? The ruling from the Supreme Court was 6-3, written by Chief Justice John Roberts on a straight party line vote, with all Republican-appointed justices joining to give the president the power of a king, while some parts of the federal indictment against Trump will be remanded back down to the district court trial judge to determine whether any of Trump's actions were unofficial. Unofficial acts, the court says, are not entitled to immunity. Trump's victory in front of the Supreme Court is total. Essentially, all he has to do is claim that everything he did to plot a coup was part of his official duties, and the Supreme Court provided no clear method or evidentiary standard that can be used to challenge that presumption. Wild. Accidental Seller. Watch Star Wars. Thank you, Seller, by the way. Watch Star Wars Andor. It has Stellan Skarsgård. I love Stellan Skarsgård, but I haven't seen the Andor yet. Bite your tongue, Adam. 20 maggot justices. Yep, on this podcast, Steve Bannon is always talking about how they're going to round up every one of Trump's enemies. Yeah, but also, funny enough, speaking of Steve Bannon, he just went to jail today. Did you see him and Marjorie Taylor Greene freaking the hell out outside of the jail? If I just look her up, I bet it'll pop up. Steve Bannon and Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to hold a conference. This is basically what it's like for me when I'm at MAGA rallies. People surrounding me and screaming at me. You can't hear it, but people were chanting, lock him up, and traitors. Yeah, Steve Bannon is not enjoying himself right now. Cheers, cheers. Yep, Steve Bannon reported to prison. He deserves it. But then again, if Trump wins, he's going to pardon Bannon. Honestly, we should vote for Trump just so Bannon's dumbass stays in jail. I'm a one-issue voter, and it's Steve Bannon staying in jail. Biden needs to do this town hall. He should have already done one, but I'm worried that, yeah. Man. See, what happens if Biden does... Oh, he gets out in November? I didn't know that. What happens if Biden holds a town hall and completely flops again? Then it's like, who has it worse, Steve Bannon or Steve Bannon's cellmate? What do you guys think? Oh, that was Anarchy Princess. I almost met her at the last rally. So the last rally I went to, guys, oh my lord, it was wild. Let me show you guys some of this footage really quickly, even if you won't be able to hear it. But Anarchy Princess showed up and she started screaming, and everybody started to surround Anarchy Princess and scream in her face. I was actually incredibly scared for her. Let me show you guys this stuff. Like, what the hell is what is this? One second. These dudes, after they attacked me, or tried to attack me or whatever, get in my face, they asked me to take a picture for them. I was like, I guess. This dude was so annoying right here. This dude, and this is the guy with the MAGA. Oh my lord, look at this. Look at this, y'all. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. What would you guys do if you went through 9 months of pregnancy and you try to raise a kid and it turns out like this? Yeah, let me show you guys this once it loads. Why is it taking so long? Imagine going through 9 months of pregnancy for a kid and it's this motherfucker. Lord have mercy on my soul. Lord have mercy. He is going to regret that. He is going to regret that. Oh my lord. Who does this? For real, no way. Yikes. Big yikes. And then Forgiato Blow. This is even worse. This is so ugly. Yeah, I can use a denoising. This is even worse. Self-made. They have Donald Trump's tattoo with the word self-made. Donald Trump is not self-made. Yeah. Is this what happens when you suck Donald Trump's... Never mind. This MAGA tattoo? Self-made. Just with a small loan of $1 million. Is this... I think this is Anarchy Princess getting screamed at. Let me see if I can point her out for you guys. So there's Brian Glenn. Everyone is surrounding her. Where did she go? This is her right here. People were... This creep is like looking over her shoulder. People are following her, screaming at her. We have more. This is her right here. This lady got in her face. I'm going to try to keep my cursor. This is her. She was surrounded. Thank you, Mr. Kenneth. He loves the poorly educated. True. I love the poorly educated. That's my Donald Trump. I got you. I can buy more storage, yeah. She seriously could have gotten hurt at this rally. This is wild. If you guys can hear it too, there's people like screaming at her. Screaming. She gets people so mad. So mad. Jesus Christ. I didn't even see this one that my cameraman got. They have flags saying, "I'm voting for the felon 2024. Yeah, there's no audio. None of my audio is coming through, but it's whatever. Jesus Christ. I'm voting for the felon. Should we just start making flags that say, "I'm voting for the old guy"? Like, do we just own it like that? Yeah, it's muted because there's no audio coming through, just so you guys know. They have merch for that. Should we just make merch saying... By the way, I dropped a new piece of merch today. I'm not saying go check it out or anything. Don't check it out. Or check it out if you have the means to. But, we whipped this up. The Morals of an Alley Cat. It's Donald Trump. We had a few different designs. But, this is the one we ended up going with. Donald Trump has the morals of an alley cat. For real. Yeah, I'm going for the old guy. Yeah, I don't know. You hate it? Yeah, we don't want to, yeah. We don't want to make merch of Biden being old. Thank you, yeah. It's up there. People always say stuff like, I can't buy this, but I will, like, when I have the money. Don't even worry. If you're not able to buy it now and you have to wait, then don't worry about buying anything because, yeah, save your money. It's just a funny shirt. Ooh, a long red tie. True. I might update it with a red tie on the cat. I just thought that was a funny design. This one, I wish you guys could hear this one. It's in one of my videos if you guys haven't seen it. Yeah, maybe I need a new shirt today that says King Biden with the Supreme Court justices or something. Has Donald Trump ever worked besides acting in The Apprentice? Yeah, he did a lot of real estate stuff. I hate him a lot, but he did a lot of real estate stuff. Biden, old but gold. True. Hell yeah. Thank you, James. Cheers. Cheers on my liberalism mug. For real. Yeah, we have a lot of interviews to still dig into. I think this is the raw file of me. I wish you guys could hear it, but this is the raw file of me talking to Brian Glenn. Look how quickly he gets heated, too. It took 30 seconds, and you can tell he's already screaming in my face. King Biden. Yeah, I agree, Mona. The old dude has a lifetime of experience and is competent enough to do the job. What about a shirt that says, what's that one saying that's like, I'll take the dude with 70 or with 80 years of experience behind him over the dude with 80 felonies in front of him or 80 indictments in front of him? That's a good one. That's a good quote. That's a good shirt. I'll take the dude with 80 years of experience over the dude with 80 felonies ahead of him or indictments. Yeah, or we could just flip it around and say, I'm not voting for the convicted felon. One second. Let me try to figure this out. Why is my desktop audio muted? Yeah, what country is all that MAGA merch made in? Definitely not the USA. We've checked before. I have my MAGA pen right here. I showed you guys this, but that lady that was selling those clapper things, we had a really good conversation, and she was like, I'll give you 5 of these pens for free. She gave me these pens for free. Let's see if it says where it was made. I can't see it, but I can almost guarantee this was made in China. Yep, there you go. Just because you think Alfred is too old to take care of the Batcave doesn't mean you replace him with the Joker. Yeah, I can almost guarantee this was made in China, even if I can't find the writing. Trump just attacked me by name. Oh wait, that's an advertisement, I think. Yeah, but wild. I hope you guys enjoyed my Supreme Court stream. Everyone drop a blue heart or a thumbs up or something in the chat. I always like to say bye to everyone before we go. Yeah, I might be live a little bit later. I gotta go take care of some stuff. I really gotta go walk my dog. I gotta go edit this video that I was editing. I could go live all night, but I've got to go take care of some stuff. And then I'll be back later. I'll be back maybe later tonight or tomorrow morning. Peace out, Benny Loco. Thank you guys all for being here. Thanks, James, Kelly, Frederick. Thank you, Soulcraft, Evan, Michael, Ruben, Walter White, Jessica Marco or Jessica Marco, Carol, Sunshine. What's up, Neverman? Krista, Tom, Buddy, Jared. Always like seeing you here, Jared. Kate, Dark Pepsi, Justin Beliter. I thought that said Justin Bieber. Klaus, Cobalt, Mona, Beavis, Marcia. Yeah, I gotta go eat dinner too. I'm pretty hungry. But yeah, Toadster. Peace out, everybody. I love chatting with you guys. Rogue Gamer, we'll talk on stream soon. I promise you. It's just been a busy few days. Peace out, y'all. Bye, Brian. Bye, Kelsey. Camaro. My bad. You know I'm bad with names. Jesse Camaro. I thought that said Jessica Camaro. So Jesse Camaro. I know that now. See ya, Jose. See ya, Matt. Dixon. Benton. P. Benton. Tasma. Peace out, everyone. I always love the live streams. Be here for the next one. And by the way, you guys can turn on post notifications if you want to see all my streams. But peace out, everyone. Bye, Chris. Bye, both Chris's and Klaus. Andrew.